Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, the Durham probe special counsel jury, has all the evidence it needs to convict at least one of the 5 counts against Danchenko, the source, one of the sources of the Steele dossier. I'm going to read you the Wall Street Journal, the FBI's $1 million dossier. And there are other articles talking about bureau agents offering $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million to verify anything within the Steele dossier. And of course, they couldn't, but the United States government utilized this compilation of nonsense and lies to investigate Trump. Okay. Then there's Yahoo News. FBI paid Igor Danchenko more than $200,000. $200,000 to serve as a confidential human source. This was predicated upon what the Washington Examiner writes. FBI had immunity deal with Steele source Danchenko Durham inquiry trial reveals. Immunity deal. $1 million to verify a dossier, and about $200,000. About $200,000 there. Actually, were negotiations for like a $500,000, something around like 400 something grand lump sum of money. It's unbelievable. Okay, hit subscribe to this channel right now. There is a lot of money. There's an immunity deal. Nothing was accurate. They should get the source on, they should get him convicted at least on lying about a phone call he had with the Clinton public relations executive. Is there a chance that that he'll get acquitted on all 4 counts of lying to the Bureau because agents were so inept, incompetent, and vague on the witness stand? So it's very difficult to pin a bureaucrat and have a bureaucrat or government official actually tell you something and state yes or no as an answer. So you had Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of these people, the intel agencies and the top officials were leveled against Trump. You'd have to be an imbecile to think that there was no political bias. There absolutely was political bias, and the Inspector General Michael Horowitz listed endless bias. He just said, well, there was no documentary or testimonial bias. Okay? That's on one of the shorts, by the way. You can hear Inspector General Michael Horowitz say, there were numerous agents that wanted to stop Trump. The issue, ladies and gentlemen, is that there's no documentary or testimonial bias, so nobody testified that they just had utter contempt for Trump. And so you now have to, Durham has to actually explain to the jury, and I think he did. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. I was going to do a live stream, but I wanted to do this upload. Share this segment with anyone who kind of doesn't really understand what's going on with the Durham probe trial. To my super chat, to my Patreons, if you want to become a Patreon, the link is below in the pinned comment. If you want to give a super thanks to this, the super thanks is below. Be here tomorrow for the live stream. We should get a verdict within a couple of days, and that will be huge news going into a Trump Republican House and a Trump Republican Senate. The verdict, even if it's an acquittal of all 4 counts, which would be very bizarre, that would then the fix would be in, at least in terms of the jury, or like something would be very bizarre about that. I'm expecting like at least one conviction. But whatever takes place, you're going to have endless investigations in the House of Representatives. House Oversight, Judiciary, and Intel committees will not only impeach Biden, mashed potato brains Joe, for his there's obvious corruption, and there's almost certain graft and bribery, which are serious felonies and serious risks to national security. Okay, the DNC being infiltrated, allegedly, because the United States government never looked at DNC servers. So all of the nonsense as well, it's an assessment that was confirmed by another assessment, or an assessment that's confirmed is just basically an assessment that's confirmed. There's nothing categorical. There's no guarantee of anything that actually took place. people think that the United States political establishment media truly believes that the Kremlin wanted Trump because they infiltrated the DNC to show that Bernie Sanders was cheated, thus influencing voters away from Clinton. The whole thing is the most absurd nonsense. There's not a shred of evidence for any of these things. Nobody can say that one vote was altered, and nobody can say that the United States government ever looked at DNC servers. But the DNC losing, Democrats losing to Trump because people found out that Bernie Sanders was cheated is certainly not national security. What Durham hopefully did was explain that none of this was national security. What Durham hopefully did was explain that even if a bureau agent says, gosh, probably, it's really hard to say whether the lies were material or that they would have influenced government officials. What Durham hopefully got the jury to understand is that those lies were directly linked to getting $200,000 and also the $1 million offer to verify whether everything was true or not. The $1 million was never given because nothing was true. It was only lies. This source, along with Dolan and other people, only lied. Sussman only lied. But the Bureau was in on it. The FBI agents were in on it also. But Durham isn't prosecuting that, and he can't overtly state. So he went after these agents on the witness stand. And it's funny because media is like, oh, he's going after his own witnesses. Oh, it's like, well, yeah, he has to, genius, because the witnesses also were in on it. There's this charade going on that they were just inept or incompetent, but they were willing participants in setting up and framing Trump. They didn't do any due diligence regarding the dossier because they wanted a pretext. That's how you utilize your bureaucratic post. So John Durham already convicted an FBI official in Boston, sent him to prison. Okay, this was years back, for working with informants and becoming a criminal also. But, and that was like a huge story. But if Durham should get 1 out of 4 counts. One was okay, this is what we're dealing with. 1 count was tossed out because Danchenko said he never talked to Dolan, this Clinton operative that he was literally working with, to help compile the dossier. But he emailed Dolan. He didn't talk to Dolan, and therefore it was literally an email, not verbal communication, so it was tossed out. So that's not a lie, somehow. But the Bureau goes after Michael Flynn, and all we have are the 302s. No concerted, big, Byzantine type of endeavor to get anyone. It was just, they got Michael Flynn. They set him up and framed him with 2 agents, and we don't even know. Initially, they said he didn't lie. But the agents wrote on a piece of paper, apparently that they thought that he lied, and that was enough to get him convicted of that. So, pardoned eventually. But they set up and framed Michael Flynn. In this scenario, as with everything to do with Trump has to go, or the Durham probe has to go above and beyond to show that even though you have, with Michael Flynn, for example, or George Papadopoulos, for example, they were after anyone with Trump just for public relations purposes. It had nothing to do. Michael Flynn, George Papadopoulos did nothing to ever harm national security. Again, it is not national security to speak to an ambassador. It is not national security to even know anything about Clinton's emails. Clinton's emails have nothing to do with the future or the safety and security of the average American citizen. If there's graft and bribery within those deleted emails, that's on the Clintons. And again, I want Hillary to be nominee. I want her to run against Trump. I think it would be fantastic. I would vote for Trump 1,000,000 times over, but we're still living in 2016, so we have to kind of exercise those demons and do it all over again. But this is all a Clintonian, thing. They had a public relations executive work with... See, again, so they went after Michael Flynn, they went after Papadopoulos for nothing. Michael Flynn had every right to speak to Sergei Kislyak. And the FBI already looked at his calls. There was nothing wrong there. But they accused him of lying. We have no evidence if he did. All we're trusting is Peter Strzok and another agent, I believe, who already had it out for Flynn and Trump and everyone. So it's like the standard of proof against Trump was like nothing. Then you had George Papadopoulos, and that was Alexander Downer, and he was never he never testified before Congress. And then they got him on like a Facebook account that he deleted, that he said or like an email that he said he didn't send, but he did send. It's like this is not national security. This issue right here, where you have a steel source, is national security, because there could have been information, or there could have been a concerted effort by the adversarial nation to utilize this individual. And it wasn't a national security for the FBI to pay him. It was a pretext. They needed a reason to go after. They needed a reason to go after Trump. So hopefully Durham explained that they needed a reason, and the reason was based upon deceit and lies. So the 4 counts that are remaining are not only relevant, but you have $1 million that he could not verify the information even for $1 million, and you have $200,000 paid because it was a confidential human source. This is all taxpayer money, by the way. But an immunity deal that he broke or didn't adhere to because he didn't give all the information that he could have given, and that all the information that he gave was not accurate. So we'll see. It really depends on if the jury is full of hardcore Democrats who just do not want any justice pertaining to like what happened with Trump and the U.S. government going after Trump, or if there's at least some, like, if there's people who have integrity on that jury, they'll do the right thing and look at the evidence and see, like, okay, this was a grandiose facade or charade, and a whole lot of deceit and a whole lot of lies were leveled at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Certainly they would have done things differently had Danchenko been, or had any of these people been extremely honest, or honest at all. But anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. I'm expecting at least one conviction. We'll see. But if it's an acquittal, there can't be this, oh, nothing's ever going to happen. We're going into, so vote in the midterms. We're going into impeachment of Joe, mashed potato brains. He'll get impeached, and the Durham probe will be relitigated, relived, investigated over and over again until we get to 18 U.S. Code 371, which is the statute that really needs to be utilized in court. And I write about that in the Federalist. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. The jury has it in their hands. I think it's going to be 1 out of 4 convictions, 1 out of 4 counts at least. But if there's an acquittal, don't say, oh, nothing's ever going to happen. Oh my God. It is what it is. You go into impeachment next year. Trump Republicans take over the House and Senate in midterms next month. So the pendulum is already swinging. Give me your thoughts below. And by the way, the Durham probe has been successful in everything we've found out. And that's the basis for endless investigations into the next couple of years. And this is all national security. Okay, what Democrats convinced themselves of, that the Kremlin wanted to push for Trump, there's zero evidence of that. Like, zero evidence. And anyone who would try to say, well, there's this, there's that, easily eviscerated. You could slice and dice all of that and say, yeah, that's not true. That's hyperbole. That's an assessment. That's nonsense. The U.S. government doesn't know that for sure. Read the ODNI and DHS reports. So there's zero evidence regarding the Mueller probe. Mueller probe is a complete failure. This actually pointed to a grand, overarching plot to go after Trump. But that's not what Durham is litigating. Okay, that's not what he's prosecuting. He's prosecuting individual lies. So we'll see. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Thank you.